And joining us now is former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. She's got a new book out. It's titled Democracy: Stories from the Long Road to Freedom. Welcome, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Very good to have you here.
Great to be with you.
Senator Manchin and I were just talking about Russia, so I'll start there with the question to you, which is help Americans who've heard all the political talk of Russia. How should Americans think about Russia and America's national security interests?
Well, we have to think about Russia in terms of the last several years under Vladimir Putin. And I think what we're seeing is a president of Russia who has established authoritarianism at home and assertiveness and aggressiveness abroad. He really believes that he is re-establishing Russian greatness, that he has Russia back in the game. But the most important thing is that he hasn't seemed to respect certain lines in doing that. And the most important thing is to reestablish that the United States is going to defend its allies in NATO under Article 5. An attack upon one is an attack upon all. That the United States will not countenance the Russian military threatening our forces by flying very close to our ships or to our planes. I think rebuilding the defense budget has helped to send that signal. And by the way, the strike in Syria has helped to send the signal that the United States is going to get leverage back in the Middle East. And so this is a dangerous time with the Russians, but it could also be, once we've established the ground rules, there are many things we need to cooperate with the Russians on, including, by the way, the most vexing problem of North Korea, where they too can't be too comforted by a reckless North Korean leader with missiles and nuclear weapons that can reach Russia as well as eventually the United States.
I want to get to North Korea in a second, but you write in your book about Russia being a tide that has gone deep into Europe when it's powerful and receded when it's weak. Where is America in terms of breaking that tide? I mean, is it halfway there, quarter of the way there?
Well, we've always hoped that the Russians would see their role in the world as one built on the respect that comes from economic power, from soft power. But unfortunately, it's turned to military power again to establish itself. And I do think that we've begun to say to the Russians, for instance, what President Obama did to put rotating forces in the Baltic states and in Poland. That was a good message to the Russians that certain things are not acceptable. The strike in Syria was a good message, but we need to continue to send strong messages about Ukraine and other places that we're not going to countenance a Russia that is aggressive against allies and states that shouldn't be threatened by their neighbors.
On North Korea, what should America not countenance? What is the tipping point for?
Well, a lot has happened, John, in the last several years. This is now a different regime than even under Kim Jong-il, the father. Kim Jong-un is reckless, maybe even a bit unstable. He has made improvements in his nuclear capabilities that look as if he's getting closer to a deliverable nuclear weapon, and perhaps in, I don't know what they're telling the president because I don't have the intelligence, but 3-5 years, the ability to reach the United States, that cannot be countenanced by any American president. I don't care who's in the White House. In order to deal with that, you have to change the Chinese calculus, and I think that's what the administration's trying to do. They've worried most about the collapse of the regime and their long border and instability on their border. But you have to say to them, even if you have to take very tough steps that might ultimately collapse the regime, you have to take steps because we will if you don't. And I think that's the message that you're starting to see.